Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Wizard Week. Today we are talking about Fantastic Beasts and where to find them. Before I get too much into my thoughts, my very first note that I wrote down, because I was so excited in this movie that markets itself on the magical creatures within, we see a pug. I love pugs. I've got pugs in every room of my house. Don't believe me? Check this out. There's one up there. There's a couple in my kitchen. That guy's in my living room. That guy's also in my living room. This is my little entryway. There's no light here, but there's a pug, a pirate pug in there. Also, we got a pug pillow. Look at him there. There's one in my bathroom. There's one in my bedroom. There's a couple more in my bedroom. There's one in my utility room. There's one in my spare room. Here's another one in my movie room. Of course, there's another couple more in my movie room, like that one there, and that one there, and that one there. And there's a bunch in my music room. Whole lot of them back there. And a whole lot of them up on the ceiling. So you put a pug in your movie, and you've piqued my interest. The problem is, this movie has a lot of problems with it after that point, doesn't it? I think, for me, the biggest issue is it can't pick a lane. It wants to be a movie about magical creatures. That's what the name tells us it's going to be about. I remember the trailers. That's what I remember from the trailers, are the magical creatures. But it also wants to be this story about Grindelwald and the war coming between No-Majs and wizards. And that's just not, it's not as interesting. And so we've got these two different sets of characters. And Newt and, what's his name? I can't remember the other guy's name. I specifically paid attention to it at the end so that I would remember, and I've forgotten. But Newt and whatever the other guy's name is, the No-Maj, and Tina, and whatever her sister's name is, those characters I like. Those characters I would have liked to see more. But Graves, who's actually Grindelwald, and the president of the whatever, and Credence, and his adopted mother, and Modesty, and all that stuff, not interesting, not engaging, not something that's going to hold my attention. So I think this movie tried really hard to be a cool movie about magical creatures, and also a serious movie about the world of witches and wizards. And those should be two different things, right? I keep talking about it in all my ideas for other movies they could make. Do one about the paintings. Do one about musical instruments, right? Do all these different things, but make them their own thing, right? If this movie was just about, if this was about Newt and the adventures that he says he was on, right? Out in the field, I think is what he said. That would have been a way more interesting movie, in my opinion. Because that's what I'm interested in seeing, is the cool magic stuff that is not things that I see in the real world. Politicians arguing about how to handle bad press. I get enough of that in the real world. I don't need to see that put into this fantasy setting. So I think that's probably the biggest problem. Also, I'm pretty sure this is the shortest movie in the series so far, but it felt the longest. And so I think there are some major pacing issues, in part because you have these two completely different story ideas going on. But, I know J.K. Rowling was more involved with these movies than in the other movies. And, I'm totally armchair quarterbacking it here. But just because you're talented in writing long format things like books does not mean you have the same talents in short form writing like screenplays. Movies are different than books. So if you get a book author to helm your movie, I think you're going to have some problems. Pacing was rough. Too many storylines, not enough focus on the more interesting characters or the more interesting storyline, right? Like, we could have spent so much time inside the suitcase. I would have loved that so much. So yeah, oddly, like, I took a break between watching Deathly Hallows Part 2 and this, because I thought that after watching this, I would, be refreshed and want to follow this series more. But I wish I had saved that break for now, because coasting off of the high of Deathly Hallows would have helped me get through this one, I think, and then I could have had a break, and then I could have been like, okay, well, now it's time to watch, Crimes of Grindelwald. But now it's just like, that's next on my to-do list, and I don't really want to do it, because I'm not excited. I'm not looking forward to it, because this one did not deliver in the ways that it could have. What else did I write down? Oh, so there's a clock. There's another clock in the, I don't know, it's not the Ministry, right? It's called something else in the States. Anyway, the building that Tina brings Newt into early on in the movie, there's another clock with one of those wheel thingies, like the one from Hogwarts. And so I just looked up a little bit, and apparently that's like, I don't know about this, but like, there are clocks like that, and it has to do with tracking the phases of the sun and the moon and the zodiac and all sorts of different things. So I think they're like magicked up a little bit in this one, because it's got like the different threat levels around them. But I think they're called an astrology clock, and so I gotta do some more research into those. Those are pretty cool. I don't know. Can you get those? I have no idea, but I gotta look more into it. So Tina's sister can read minds, and that just has me thinking. We've got the Parseltongue ability, which is pretty rare amongst wizards. We've got this one character, after 8 movies of not hearing about anyone else who could read minds, we've just got a character that can just do that. So I'm like, what other superpowers exist in this world of magic, right? And that's an interesting route that you could take in future movies, right? Because we have movies that exist in worlds without magic, where superheroes are a thing. They could also be a thing, more traditional superheroes, just super strength, super speed, not based on spells, just also abilities that people can have. Or are there muggles that can speak Parseltongue? Are there muggles that can read people's minds? Are those tied into the fact that these people are witches and wizards? Or, are those people just maybe open more to the idea that they can actually do these things because they know about the world of magic? How does that work? I'd like to see more stuff on that in its own movie, not stuffed into another movie that should just be about awesome creatures. Also, just a lot of the Harry Potter movies got worse at this as time went on, but never this bad, where people just shoot their wands at people. Like, the cool part about fighting with magic is you have to say the words and you have to cast the spells. And I know it wasn't always like that in the Harry Potter series, but there are very few spells actually spoken in this movie, and it's mostly just shooting fiery lightning things out of your wands. And it's like, at that point, just give them guns, right? What's the difference between shooting lasers from your wand and having a laser gun? Make it more interesting. It's supposed to be more interesting. This is a frustrating movie, and I can see why. I was hoping that I would enjoy it more than most people that I've heard from, because, as I've said in other videos, when people say that movies are really, really great, I tend to think, they're okay, they're not great. And when people say movies are really, really horrible, I tend to think, oh, it's not that bad, right? So I was hoping that because people say such good things about Harry Potter and such bad things about this, that I would kind of fall here and it would all kind of even out for me. Not so with this movie. I don't think it's horrible by any means, but it's less interesting, it's less watchable, and, I know it takes place at a different time period, but it just doesn't feel consistent with what we've seen before. It also takes place in a different geographic location, so, like, I'm not saying that it is contradictory to itself necessarily. It's just not, it's not a consistent viewing experience for me, the viewer. But we're gonna chug along. We're gonna get through Crimes of Grindelwald, and then eventually we will. I think I'm probably gonna try and see. I'm filming this on a Wednesday, so I'm gonna see if I can get to Secrets of Dumbledore on Thursday, so that everything else will still be fresh. But that video will go up on Saturday. What else was I gonna say? I had another thought. It was there. Can I get it back? Hold on. Jacob. The other guy's name was Jacob. That wasn't the thought that I had, but that just popped in. I'm pretty sure it was Jacob, but let me find my other thought. The name. My other thought was about the name. You can't start a new series within this world and start the naming convention off so terribly. This movie is called Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. Makes perfect sense for this movie, and if people are going to shorten that, they're going to call it Fantastic Beasts, right? But now you've kept that part of the name for your subsequent movies, so now we have Fantastic Beasts and the Crimes of Grindelwald, and Fantastic Beasts and the Secrets of Dumbledore. What are people going to call those movies? They're going to call them the Crimes of Grindelwald and the Secrets of Dumbledore, right? Which then means, if you're following that convention, that this movie should be called And Where to Find Them. But nobody's going to call this And Where to Find Them. They're going to call it Fantastic Beasts. So you've just set it up to be way more confusing than it needs to be. And, you know, just you're calling the whole world the Wizarding World, right? So just use that. Wizarding World, Fantastic Beasts. Wizarding World, The Crimes of Grindelwald. Wizarding World, The Secrets of Dumbledore. You've made it so muddy. And you knew you were going to make a series out of it, so it's not like that's an excuse. And I know that Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them was a pre-existing title that they used, but, like, modify it for your purposes, because it's a different medium. I think my rant is over. I hope you guys all enjoyed my pugs. Which pug was your favorite? Let me know any thoughts you have about Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them below. Those are my thoughts. Thank you very much for watching. Have a good day.